What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Slave Assassin 11 here, and today I'm bringing you guys another gameplay commentary, this time talking about my gameplay and wishes for the game Fallout 4, what I want to see at E3 this year, and what I would like to see in the game in general. Now, that's not to say that the old Fallouts weren't great. Everything about the third one and Fallout New Vegas, I love both of them in their own ways. They both had their own different feels to them. The first one had more of like a 1950s vibe to it, and the other one had more of like a Wild Wild West vibe to it. And I love both feelings. However, I wanted to talk about what I would like to see in the new one coming up that is just rumored at this point. However, if we look back to the cycles of how the games work, it looks like we are due for a Fallout series game this year. So, today I'd like to start off by talking about the movement in the game. The first thing I would like to see is the ability to sprint, like in Skyrim, how you held the LB button, or I believe on PC it was the shift button, and it allowed your character to sprint distances between buildings or something like that much quicker than you could without it. Even if you want to implement a stamina system into Fallout, I am okay with that as long as we can sprint in the game, because I think that's a key factor that's missing from a lot of RPGs. Now, I would also like to see mounts in the game. Now, mounts are important in a small sense because you might not want to fast travel between, one building in the barn that's 500 yards out. So it's easier to just one, sprint if you have that ability, or two, like in Skyrim, hop on a horse. Maybe in Fallout we could hop on a motorcycle, or maybe we could hop on a horse, just like in the whole Wild Wild West theme. They could have put horses in there and made it feel even more Western with the modern, old, broken down buildings in the background. Now, I'd also like to see a co-op and trading system. I think that would be very important to the game. If you allow people to play together, that makes the game more social, which in turn makes people want to play the game together. Now, a big one for me that I noticed with this was Borderlands. Borderlands was huge in the sense that I think its popularity truly exploded, not from the single person playing the game, but from the person who could group up with 4 of his friends who all could use different abilities to beat a certain boss or a certain part of the quest line. I think that maybe in Fallout you don't need 4 people, but I think it would be really fun if you could just bring in another person and you two people could quest together, start the franchise together, start the game together, I should say, not franchise, sorry. Start the game together and move on and progress through the campaign together and still be able to do everything, still be able to unlock stuff, and then maybe you could even offer a trading system in the game so that if one person's building their person to like guns and the other guy's going for melee, but the melee guy finds an awesome gun, he could actually give it to the other guy. And I think that'd be cool if you had some type of trading system. Maybe even if you're in your own campaign and you find a weapon that you think your friend would like, you could join his game and trade him that weapon for something of his, or just gift it to him for free. I think that'd be really cool to implement something like that. Also, I think that more diverse scenery is needed. Now, don't get me wrong, Fallout New Vegas was a very, very beautiful game. However, it did have its problems when it came down to the fact that it was pretty bland. When you looked around, it did give you that Wild Wild West feeling because everything was deserted and empty. However, I felt like that was kind of a cop-out because in Fallout 3, even though it was pretty much just all rocks and dirt everywhere, I still felt like it had more of a diverse look to it. It felt like every area was kind of fresh from the last area. Whereas in New Vegas, I feel like almost every area is exactly the same, except for the one part where it's all really red, sandy. I can't remember what the warriors, some type of great warriors, or great cons or something maybe are there. That part looked a little bit different, but other than that, everything else seemed very similar to me, and I found that kind of weird. But I did notice lots of parts in Fallout New Vegas that did look great, such as the Strip, and how you could see the Strip from a distance. I think that's awesome, how you would come over a hill, looking at the deserted areas, come over the hill, and you top it and see this awesome metropolis of lights. I thought that was really cool, and if they could implement more diverse scenery into Fallout 4 and make the game look more pretty and aesthetic overall, I think that would really help the franchise, and I think that would really boost the popularity of this game, which, by the way, needs no help to get boosted. However, it would boost it overall. Now, I'd also like to see some factions that matter. Now, in Skyrim, you could join certain factions. In the older ones, it meant more to join whether the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, and things like that. In the newer ones, it seems like you can just join everything and do all the quest line, which I'm fine with that too. However, when it came to joining the NCR or joining Caesars, you really didn't notice this difference in the way the game played. At least I didn't. I've played both ways through Caesars and I played through the NCR. In both ways, I really didn't notice except for when I went around the other one. Sometimes they didn't like me and they tried to attack me. That was the only difference I noticed in the game. I didn't really get that effect that you had where when you were a great con and you'd walk into the New Vegas Strip and everybody would run away in fear because you're this monster killer out there. And I also didn't get the effect that when I was the NCR dressed up as a sheriff, cowboy, ranger, walking into the strip, no one gave me any respect or looked at me like I was a hero. It just didn't feel like the game's factions actually mattered overall. So I would like to see a more diverse faction system and one that actually matters in the end game. Now, kind of twisting off of that, I would also like to see the ability to continue after the game ends, and that's where the factions would come into place the most, such as the NCR or Caesars. It tells you that if you pick a certain faction, it's going to end the game differently because certain people are going to take over the apocalyptic, deserted desert. However, when the game ends, the game just ends. So you don't even get to see the NCR actually, running the whole Mojave. You don't actually get to see the Caesars, actually running the Mojave. It's just kind of a goofy concept that when the game ends, everything's totally done and what you did doesn't actually affect everything. Unless maybe in Fallout 4 it's going to take the way that your game ended and make it even better. I'm not sure if that's how they're going to do it, but if that would work, that'd be kind of cool if that's their plan. However, at this point, it seems like the factions didn't matter, and how the game ended after the story was over, I thought was a bit of a letdown because I spent all that time, making my character perfectly how I wanted, finding the perfect outfits, and I didn't even finish all the side quests thinking that I could just beat the campaign and go back and do the side quests like you can in Skyrim, but that wasn't the case. So I would like to see the ability to continue after the story ends, and I'd also like to see the ability to create homes like in Skyrim. And I know I'm relating it back to Skyrim a lot, but they do help to create Skyrim too, so I feel like it is quite useful when talking about this. And I'd like to see the ability to create homes. Now I know you can actually purchase homes in Fallout, and then you can pay a designer to put things inside of them. However, I would like to see the ability to create a home like you could in Skyrim. Now, I know in Skyrim there wasn't many diverse options, but there was a little bit of a diverse option. I could build a different looking house than my friend has in the same location by just changing, the Archmage Tower to one side or the other, or putting armory on instead of a kitchen, different things like that. I thought that was really cool. It made the game feel more personal to me, and I feel like if a Fallout can do that and make us build maybe you can build a small little runty rustic shack on the side of the road, or you could get to the point where you take over a deserted hotel and create the whole thing into a mansion or something silly, or maybe even take over an old deserted mansion that a family had left. I think that if you could do things like that and make the game feel more personal, if you could maybe put your awesome armor that you got from killing the great cons leader, but it's not particularly good for your character, you could mount it on the wall like you could in Skyrim to make it, kind of show everybody. And then that's where the co-op system would be even cooler, because your friend could join your map, go into your house, check out all your gear, check out everything he likes, and it would just make the game more personal and more social. So I think that pretty much is going to sum it up for the day when it comes to this commentary, but I do want to touch on one last thing before I go, and that's that if you're going to show us anything at E3, don't show us a cinematic trailer. What I would like to see at E3 is actual gameplay. I would like to see the VAT system being used. I'd like to see the reloads of multiple weapons, so I can see if the animations are actually good animations or kind of more cheaper ones like some games try to pull off. I would like to see these things at E3. I'd like to see true, actual HD 60 frames per second gameplay. I'm even cool with it coming from a PC. Please bring it from a PC and then actually make the PC version look like that. Don't pull what Watch Dogs did, and don't pull what The Witcher just tried to do, because they show us these awesome games and then they end up showing us later Xbox One gameplay and stuff like that. And I have Xbox One and PS4, and whatever one it's going to be the best on is what I'll buy it for. But I also have an awesome PC, and I would love to play it on the PC itself. So please show me PC gameplay, 60 frames per second, HD, 4K, 1080p, whatever you got to do to make the game run correctly, and just give us what we want, give us everything we need, and that will just make us all very, very happy. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. I appreciate you guys stopping by. As always, make sure you follow me on Twitter so you can find out when my new videos are on there, and you can also just talk to me on there and chit chat. I'm always on there and just messing around. You can also check out my Twitch down below. I live stream every once in a while. I used to live stream every day, kind of fell off recently, but I'm going to be getting back into it. So hope to see you guys there. As always, have a good day, have a good night, and peace.